have special economic zones, also known as SEZs, failed to work in India. What went wrong with this concept of earmarked industrial zones, which will attract FDI and make India's exports hugely competitive? That's our big debate today. Were SEZs in this country from the word go set up for failure, or has that happened along the way? Our second debate, where we dive deep into one big real estate market and take a look at what's happening to property. How will things pan out over the next few years? It's Kolkata, the city chosen by Hillary Clinton to meet the lady who toppled the left after 34 years. That's Mamata Banerjee. What's Kolkata market looking under the new political bosses? What's changed? What's not? But first, special economic zones or SEZs. Let me introduce the panelists who will thrash out this issue for us. Balaji Rao, Head Investments of Sun Group. Mr. Balaji, thanks very much for joining in. We also have Shashi Sonavane, National Convener of Yuva Bharat Organization. He has a counterpoint from a people's point of view. In the Delhi studio, Anshul Jain, CEO of DTZ India, and Sameer D'Souza, CEO, founder, Prop Equity. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining me here. I'm going to start this debate with a glimpse of what's a special economic zone or SEZ, as we shall refer to in our discussion. In April 2005, the Government of India announced a special economic zone policy to make India competitive in exports. The act was cleared by Parliament and came into effect on February 2006, and all traditional and new goods and services in India's export basket were supposed to benefit from these notified parcels of land where they could set up industry entitled to various tax and customs benefits. So that included textiles, handicrafts, gems and jewels, telecom, engineering goods. The list is really long, pharmaceuticals, but most importantly, IT-enabled services and even biotechnology. Post that, what really happened was that the country embarked on setting up hundreds of special economic zones with a lot of hype. Today, most developers are finding it difficult to continue. Why is that? What happened? Anshul, what happened? Were they set up for failure, or did it happen somewhere along the way? Something changed.
Not at all. I think they were a great concept, and I use the word were. They were a great concept from a policy perspective, from promoting the investment perspective into the country, and really giving the fillip to the export-oriented industries, whether it's services, whether it's manufacturing. It's the change in the, it's consistently changing policies, and again, consistently changing policies an oxymoron, but that's what's been happening since then. And we've seen a variety of issues which include first saying fully tax exempt from an income tax perspective, then saying, oh, by the way, there will be minimum alternate tax which the companies operating out of SEZs need to give, then saying, okay, the SEZ companies operating in SEZ will not be taxed on income tax, but will be taxed according to the investments, or benefit will only come according to the investments that they have made. And as we know, in IT, the capital investments is not that high. In manufacturing, it is high. So before even they had a chance to get into, to become a toddler from an infant, we started loading variety of changes and not allowing it to grow.
Balaji Rao, is that very typical of how you've seen Indian government react, behave? They're very quick to come up with things which look extremely exciting, but then there are just too many policy flip-flops?
Yeah, I agree. I feel, see, there's a policy, and then there's a process, and then there's a pace of how the policy is going to be rolled out, if you look at the PPP sort of a thing. And here what happened is the policy was well conceived, but it's like opening the floodgates and everybody rushed in, and surely there were some of the SEZs which were pure real estate play. And so it just so happened that the government gets nervous because, you know, you suddenly see there are about 589 approvals, and you hardly see anything operational. So you start trying to close the gates, and you start changing the policy, and you start meddling around with the process and the procedure, and everybody gets nervous, even the serious player. So in a way, I think it's not been handled well once it started. The policy per se has been excellent, but I think we need to go back to the drawing board and re-evaluate the whole process. What do we actually want to achieve? How many SEZs do we need? Do we really need to give approvals to 589, notify 389, when only about 153 are operational at the moment? So the question, I think, depends upon the implementation, the governance, the pace, and the process by which a policy is rolled out, and that seemed to be lacking in this case.
You also thought, Sameer, that as a concept, there was nothing wrong with SEZs. We did it because we wanted to come somewhere close to China. I know we are way behind, but we looked at those mega SEZs in China and said, why can't we do it? But then we haven't been able to really do it.
I'd like to add 2-3 more things as to why SEZs are not successful today. One is that the international environment has totally changed. After all, SEZs were set up to promote exports and promote IT services, and that with America and Europe being in this total ambiguous situation, the SEZs have started to suffer because of that as well. Be that SEZs are hugely capital intensive projects. You can't sell the buildings that you build over there for 15 years. There are many other issues over there. Long gestation period. You need those huge capital investments, and private equity started to shy because of government policy changes, and there is the absorption levels have come down. If you look at ID levels, they've come down to 1/3 in certain cities. So all these points coupled together are leading to SEZs not being attractive anymore.
Okay, Sashi Sonavani, I'm going to bring you in here because the panel, the rest of the panelists say as a concept there's nothing wrong with SEZs. It would have done wonders if it had really worked in its full form. You have a very different point of view. You've been fighting that SEZs shouldn't be allowed at all.
I would rather say that as far as concept is concerned, except for the corporate houses, for the rest of the society, the concept has not been so good. That's why right from the beginning, right from the day one, except for the corporates, rest of the society has been opposing SEZ to 10-nil.
And why is that?
That has been our experience.
Why is that? Is your big worry the fact that it sucks up so much of agricultural and farming land?
That is not just, that is one issue. Sucking up of agricultural land, taking up of fertile land, that is one issue. Main issue is the very concept of export-oriented growth is a problem. Secondly, you are talking about giving promotion to export, and for that you are taking land of peasants. Why a farmer will give his land to a corporate giant, which ultimately is not going to produce anything but only going to speculate on the real estate? That has been our experience. So people have been opposing it to 10-nil because there is no employment generation, there is no trickle down as such, which has been always told
Hold
to
your
us.
thought, because 3 things that you have highlighted, Mr. Sonavani, are very important to take. Anshul Jain, reply to that. Number 1, they were supposed to be huge employment generators, which hasn't happened. There are instances and the reported cases of misuse of land which has been allotted for SEZs. And thirdly, as he rightly pointed out, which is not particular or peculiar to SEZ, but generally land acquisition from farmers for any kind of development work, there has not been a trickle-down effect.
So let's separate the issue of whether the SEZ has been implemented well from the concept of SEZ. And I think let's just agree that as concept, it works, right? So even if I take a small IT SEZ,
Is employment happening? I mean,
I was just coming to that. So let's say a small IT SEZ, it will usually have about 4 to 4.5 million square foot of office space. 4.5 million square foot of office space means about 40 to 50,000 people working there. 40 to 50,000 people working there means a lot of allied facilities in that particular area. Residences coming up in that particular area, shopping districts coming up in that particular area, so on and so forth. So there is no question as to whether there will be trickle-down effect or not. So if implemented, for a working SEZ, I think there's a lot of trickle-down effect in that particular area. Now, whether that trickle-down has happened to the farmer or the peasant who owns that particular land or not is a separate question. So, whether he has been compensated enough is a separate question. Whether that compensation has led to any economic development for the person who was the landlord of that particular area, I think is a totally separate question. It's more of a matter of how you've compensated the person, whether that compensation has been fairly given. And more importantly, whether when the compensation was given, has government done anything to coach the person who suddenly gets a lot of money as to how to invest and use that particular money.
Right.
What I can tell you is if the investment, the area generates employment, everybody who is living in that particular area benefits because there are allied businesses which flourish.
All right, so there is a lot of, mismatch when it comes to growth, development, and how much of farming land, agricultural land you are taking away. But here we are just going to focus on special economic zones. Let's take a look at the list of recent requests for denotification, which tells you how serious this problem is. DLF, which was in the fray for developing 4 SEZs, Gujarat, Haryana, West Bengal and Orissa, is out of all 4. Mehta's Ventures SEZ in Rangareddy district, out of it. SR SEZ Hazira in Gujarat has been approved for denotification. There's Unitech Info Park, Bata India, both want to denotify their IT SEZs in West Bengal. Reliance Industries has agreed to return land back to Haryana government after failing to complete the SEZ project in a period of 6 years. Parsavnath SEZ has actually withdrawn its 6 SEZ projects in 5 states. Andhra Pradesh Industrial Infrastructure Corporation, that's APIIC, said of the 75 SEZs which were notified, only 27 are operational. And the corporation has also scrapped the MOUs with the major defaulters and taken back the land assigned to them, including from Unitech and Kaparao. And in fact, couple of things which were noticed by this government body was that it hasn't really led to the employment generation that it was expected to. Balaji Rao, come in here. It seems like no developer wants to touch SEZ at the current rate. Everybody will be out of it, other than those who've already got their SEZs on ground.
In a way it looks like that, but I would feel the more serious developer understands that you have to create an industrial cluster in an SEZ. You have to create an industrial ecosystem. That itself is a challenge, and it requires a separate set of a skill. It's not a pure real estate play. So people who thought that it could be just termed as a real estate play, I think have got disappointed. And as Sameet said, the recession or the slowdown abroad has upset quite a few of the plans for the next few years. But anybody who understands how to build an industrial township, an industrial ecosystem, I still think SEZ is a good idea to take it up. But the critical part in any SEZ is you need a lot of hand-holding by the state and the central government, because it cannot just be a private initiative. And that's where I think sometimes when it is lacking, they're just not successful.
We're debating whether SEZs or special economic zones were set up for failure in this country, or something's gone wrong as we have moved from 2006 to 2011. What are the chances for future success, or should they now be declared redundant and null? Keep watching. The Board of Approval on SEZs has gone ahead and denotified 46 special economic zones around the country. These SEZs were meant to make India's exports competitive and generate employment, and also give impetus to manufacturing and services growth. We are debating here what's the future of SEZs in the country. Balaji Rao, you're saying that as a concept it's not wrong at all. I mean, it's a great concept. So would you, as a big investor, still look at viable SEZ projects to put your money in?
Sure, we do. We still evaluate SEZs, and if it is looking viable, and more importantly, if it is looking doable and executable, we definitely will put it.
This is actually very heartening to know that investors are still looking at SEZs, Anshul. But one key thing which was highlighted was infrastructure. I mean, you can have 5,000 acres of land, create great office space there, a manufacturing space there, but if you don't have infrastructure, who's going to come and rent out space?
That's the point. How do you get there? And if you talk about IT SEZs, they don't really need logistic infrastructure, but except for people getting there and getting out of it. But let's talk about the non-IT side of things. You've got manufacturing SEZs, etc. You need railheads, you need proper expressways which can carry big trucks, which can go to the port. You need good quality ports to sort of ship your stuff out. And above that, you need a manufacturing environment to do that. So
this is a big question for the entire country right now.
That's correct.
It's
so you need the SEZs as a concept needs to be supported in entirety by a variety of different matters. A. B. Just coming back to your question on 40 or 50 SEZs have been denotified. I think probably there's a case for another 75 SEZs to be denotified. And today the 150 operational SEZs and another perhaps 150 or 170 which are notified. Now, if we're talking about 150 which are notified and not yet operational, we're talking about roughly 600 million square foot of space. 600 million square foot. The whole country from an office commercial IT supply today is about 400 million square foot. Right?
So what is lying unused, you're saying, is 600 million?
No, this is the potential of build out on the notified SEZs. Now, what's happened is everybody's gone ahead and said, I want to do SEZ because it's great, right? But you can't think of adding that kind of supply, because if you're thinking of adding that kind of supply or potential supply, then investors like Balaji are thinking whether, the rents will ever take off and whether it will be viable for them. Right? And therefore the problem is if that land has been acquired and no investor is coming in to invest, then there is no economic development in that particular area, and therefore then people who have sold land, who've spent perhaps that money, are also feeling what's the long-term benefit for me in the whole game.
Right. There's no development happening anyway.
So
and that's what happened to Reliance. I mean, they couldn't get contiguous land. There are lots of reasons on why they decided to return the land to Haryana government. But is this an important point, the fact that your commerce space, office space is any which way stagnating in India? The demand for it, it's not been growing the entire 2011 and 2012 first quarter, under pressure. What are you going to do creating so much more space?
India's biggest problem, Indian real estate's biggest problem has been herd mentality, and the second biggest problem has been wrong demand assessment. Whether it was after the PE came in, these are the two biggest reasons why real estate is still in the woods. It has to come out, and the only way for it to come out is being able to, the economy has to start doing much better, both from the commercial angle, exports angle. So I think the government has to come in over here and either provide substantial amount of capital for these SEZs to take off, because developers just don't have the capital to be able to execute it. And if SEZs don't get executed, then your exports will start to suffer and the economy will start to suffer again.
So it's a curious chicken and an egg situation, but I think Mr. Sanavani's point here is very relevant. Shashi, you were saying that, look, there's a lot of case of misuse, and it seems when you look at the denotified SEZs, perhaps there was no business or economic logic for them to have taken off in any case. So it's good that they've got denotified, isn't it?
Rightly. See, my first point is, you are talking about industrialization, industrial development. Already we have many NIDC areas, Industrial Development Corporation areas, which are lying vacant. There are many industrial belts which have been totally destroyed. For example, just near Raigad, this Mahamumbai SEZ, we have this Thane Belapur industrial belt, which is getting closed down. People are out of job. There is no industry there. When they already where the land which has been taken for developing industry, that is lying vacant or it is not getting used, why the hell are you taking land of the common farmers for your real estate development or your so-called development kind of thing, destroying the livelihood of the common people? Right. It is not just economic question. Look at the socio-cultural aspect also. People, 45 villages getting evicted from this huge area, getting out of their livelihood areas. What are they going to do? According to our estimate, more than 1 lakh people are going to be affected because of this Reliance Mahamumbai SEZ. That's why people oppose it, and then people oppose it, that tooth and nail, that project didn't go ahead. Secondly, let me finish. Secondly, you are talking about export. You are talking about incentives. When farmers are demanding subsidies, all during the budget session, all of you cry foul that why farmers should be given subsidy, there is no productivity and this and that. When it comes to SEZ, you are talking about incentive. This is nothing but subsidy. And what kind of subsidy you are doing? What kind of export you are doing? Even the CAG report is admonishing this export thing, that most of the export are going to the within the land area only, that is DTA only. It is not overseas export. Now you have to calculate what cost we are giving, what public exchequer money is
Shashi, that's a very well made point. That's a very well made point. Overall, does export in India to be encouraged or to be competitive need those many benefits? Anshul, does it need those many benefits? He has a point there.
Foreign currency, you've got to earn. Unfortunately, that's the reality that we live in, right? And unless you make the country export oriented, where are you going to earn the foreign currency, and how are you going to tame the inflation.
Tame inflation and also pay for your oil bills. I mean, that is something that you really need to earn back. Balaji Rao, with just one final comment from you. We're talking, yes, about the fact that exports still need a lot of support in tax breaks. So yes, there's a raison d'etre for an SEZ, but a lot of irregularities in SEZs also happen. How true is that statement?
No, I don't deny that there have been some irregularities, which is bound to happen whenever there is any policy. People come in, some exploit it, some actually follow it. But the fact is, you have to take a step back and look at macroeconomics. Depending upon agriculture is not going to absorb the growing demographic dividend of India. We need to concentrate on services and manufacturing. Now, whether that is done on arable land or whether you can get arid land, that's a separate issue and a separate debate. But I don't think anybody can debate that India should not embrace industrialization or a move towards the services sector, because we need to give employment to our youth. And also, if you look at our deficit position, India has a $185 billion trade deficit. And that's only being absolutely, bridged by the IT exports, which is about 70 billion, and the FDI, FI investments and the remittances. So if you don't have that push, I don't think we will be able to stand in the global economy. So that's why the whole, the existence of SEZs, because you're hoping that you'll create something new and hope that that's a catalyst for industrial growth.
Unfortunately, though, that's not what's happened. So that's, I think, where we're going to conclude. Balaji Rao, thanks very much for joining in. Shashi, thanks very much. Very differing viewpoints, but an extremely interesting point of view for this debate. Anshul, Jain, thanks for joining in. Sameer Jasuja, always a pleasure to get your viewpoints. So really, we do need SEZs. We do need breaks for exports because we have to buy oil. That's the critical part. But policy flip-flops aren't happening. Investments are huge, 5,000 acres developing, that easy job, and policy flip-flops are not good for SEZ's future. That's what we've established today on the debate. And the government needs to do a lot more if it does want investments to continue in SEZs. We're going to just look at SEZs a little bit more in detail when we come back. Chief Minister, who's openly said that she's not in favor of SEZs, is Mamta Banerjee. The Videocon group informed the Commerce Ministry that its decision to withdraw out of West Bengal SEZ project was because of the latest business outlook of the region. There's also IT major Wipro and Infosys who are likely to withdraw their SEZ projects from West Bengal. So what's going to be the future of Kolkata's real estate market? What has the change in power done to this state's commerce, office growth, which is linked closely to the growth of realty? That's up next in the Big Realty Debate. Hillary Clinton chose to meet the fiery Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamta Banerjee, on day one of her India itinerary. And the reason was clear. She needed to get Mamta Banerjee to actually mellow her stance on opening up FDI or foreign direct investment in retail. Bengal's new Chief Minister is known for her unyielding stance to open Indian businesses to foreigners. The single case is etched in everybody's mind. When it comes to business, it can come and happen when there is no loss in popular goodwill that she has actually gathered, and that's powered her to oust the CPM government in this state after 34 years. So what's going to happen to real estate in the capital city of Kolkata, which is closely linked to the growth of business, commercial and office space? Where is it headed? Let me get the mood and statistics from my panel today. I've got with me Sushil Mohta, Managing Director, Merlin Group. So thanks very much for joining in on this discussion. Also with me, Balaji Rao, Head Real Estate, Sun Group from our Mumbai studio. They actively invest in real estate across the country and have the pulse and mood in every state. Amit Oberoi, National Director, Valuation Advisory Services and Research at Colliers International. Amit, thanks very much for being here. Vineet Singh, Business Head, 99acres.com, who will give us a consumer perspective as well. And of course, Sameer Jasuja, whose data is invaluable for us to look at all the statistics which drive a particular market. Sameer, thanks very much. I'm actually going to go to Mr. Mohta first because you're sitting in Kolkata, sir, and my very first question, which I think everybody has, is what's been the impact of the change of government? I mean, just before we started this debate, we had Videocon head saying that the business climate has changed and they actually have withdrawn their request for SEZ in that state as well. So what's the mood like there, sir?
Well, as far as real estate is concerned, I think still it is not on priority list of the government because they have various other issues. They have the health and the other promises they made during the election. Those are the priority for the new government. Real estate, urban development, urban infrastructure is very, very important for growth of any state and its economy. And I'm sure this new government will also understand this. I think it is just, it's going to be 1 year and they also need to, they are quite new. It's the first time these people are in government. They've never been before. So maybe it's a learning phase for them also. And I think we have to wait and watch for next 6 months as far as the real estate industry is concerned.
Okay, so that's Amit. So Mr. Botha has just said an extremely critical thing. Real estate is not high on the government's agenda because it is not one of those sectors which drives popular sentiments at all. So then what happens? And with this government, we know clearly popular sentiment and winning the popular sentiment is an extremely important thing.
I would agree with Mr. Botha. It's still too early at this point of time. There's still a wait and watch policy that most of the developers are adopting in Kolkata. New projects are on hold.
New projects are on hold. And this is a case which is, it's a 1 year scenario.
That's right, but it's too early at this point of time. They haven't taken any decision which is right or wrong.
Okay.
There are news which comes in which says TCS has moved in and Infosys has moved out. So it's still a little early. Existing projects are still going on as they were. I'd give them a little more time before we pass a judgment on the government.
All right. So that having been established, don't pass a judgment on the government, give them a little bit more time. Balaji Rao, I'm going to come to you and then get back to just the basics of the Kolkata real estate market vis-a-vis. Put it against the rest of this country because you scout around for big deals as MD of Starwood. You actually did one of the largest deals in Kolkata. So what are the plus points of that market and what are things that you would like to see a change in and needs a drastic change in?
Good question. The idea is basically Kolkata is a long-term investment opportunity still, but there are short-term issues and concerns. One, of course, is due to the political change, and every political change always involves going back and checking what has happened, what has been done, and what should be done in the future. So that shouldn't take away from the attractiveness of Kolkata as a market, both for residential as well as commercial. But having said that, we would definitely like the state government to be more proactive and understand that real estate does form the cornerstone for any new enterprise, innovation and expansion. Without that, it's going to be very difficult to bring the economy back on a high growth track. And I would feel that's the challenge right now we are facing in Calcutta.
Would you invest in Kolkata right now, or would you want to see some dramatic changes or at least some proactiveness from the new government? What would you wait for?
I wouldn't invest right now. I would wait and watch.
You would wait and watch. So that says a lot. And there are some statistics as well. I'm going to get your reaction beneath Kolkata market. What do you make of it?
No, I think the market has been a bit tepid in 2011. Launches have been less, but I think it's a good, robust, solid kind of a market. End user market, around 65-67% transactions happen to end users. It's a good market from an employment perspective as well. So if you look at data, Kolkata has reported the highest percentage, that is 56.6% of hiring in the 1 year to 4 year experience band in the calendar year 2011.
Really?
And with the average age of a homebuyer today being 32 years, these are, I think, very good statistics which speak in favor of Kolkata. Plus, coming back to that political bit as well, I think the real estate sector in West Bengal, especially Kolkata, they'll have to live with a government where housing may not be the topmost agenda, okay, for the next couple of years.
Now infrastructure will be, real estate will be, but I think land acquisition is something which a new government will stay away from for quite a while. But if you look at basic demographics, it's a very good market considering how builders have been trying to control supply and demand.
So let me just put a couple of basic highlights of the Kolkata real estate market. What does it have going for it? The present workforce is highly literate, and I think that corroborates Vineet's point that hiring in 1 to 4 years has been the highest across India in the Kolkata market. That's what you said. It's typically an end user market, 67% end user buyers there, rather than a market like New Delhi or NCR, not New Delhi, National Capital Region, where you have a reverse figure, 70% investors and 30% end users. Prices are far more realistic compared to other tier 1 cities. So these are all the big metros across the country. So Kolkata property actually wins on those counts. Now, what's happening right now? What are things which are not working in favor of this market? Developers are very apprehensive. Very clearly after the change, you heard Mr. Balaji Rao saying that he would like to wait and watch before making a big commitment of any PE money into the real estate market. Lesser launches are happening. In fact, the industry, if we'll show you some more figures from Prop Equity on how you've got lesser and lesser launches happening. Approvals and clearance delays have happened, but then this is not particular to Kolkata market. This is actually across the nation. There has been a demand to abolish the Land Ceiling Act, which has not been addressed. Again, a point that Vineet has made. Builders are being asked instead or being given approval, saying that you provide 30% low-income housing and we'll give you the approval. There's lack of infrastructure. If you visited Kolkata, you would know that that's something that the state government needs to buck up on. It's not a priority because it's not going to win it popular votes. And that's just basically the key reasons why commerce is also not getting attracted. So Sunil, this kind of sums up the pluses and the minuses, but if I look at the list that we've just read out, the negatives are outweighing the positives.
I'd just like to provide 2 more key data points. It's actually not the supply that's coming down. Supply is constant.
Supply is
11,500 to 13,000 units are being launched on a year-on-year basis, but the absorption has started to drop. The last 1 year has seen absorption come down from 1,180 units a month down to 600 units a month of absorption, and that has led to an inventory overhang of a concerning 21-22 months from 12-13 months, which is very comfortable. So that is one.
Why is that happening?
Because I think the appreciation in this city has been equivalent to the inflation. You could get an average project unit apartment at 2,600 rupees a square feet. Today it's 3,200 rupees a square feet. Whereas if you were to look at other tier 1 cities, the appreciation has been far more. So the investor, I know it's an end user community, but still, you don't see too much appreciation happening. Plus, everybody was waiting and watching as to what the political situation is going to be like once Mamata comes into power. So that's not, people are still very skeptical about that.
All right, so let me just run you through what's happening in terms of projects and unit supply. This is Prop Equity data. You've got Rajarhat, which has about 70 projects and about 15,500 units being launched there. Or actually getting completed
over the next 4 years.
Next 4 years. There's EM Bypass Any, where there are 10 projects and 1,359 units. There's also EM Bypass Southeast, where it's 9 and 863. Then there is, you've got Narendrapur, where there are 8 projects and 1,476 units. Behala, 13. And you've also got about 2,477, Garia 5, 1,215, Diamond Harbour Road, 6 projects, 1,486 units, Jessore Road, which is about 3 projects and 85 units. So we'll also show you the price rise, which is very closely linked to the projects which are there and the units or the supply there is there. Why do you think, Amit, that's happening? I mean, absorption falling to half is a big scary number.
I'd like to break the absorption into 2 parts.
Commercial and residential?
In residential. The bracket of 50 lakhs to 60 lakhs is where the sales are not happening. The bracket of 25 to 30 lakhs is where most of the absorption is happening. So you talked about all the surrounding Jessore Road, the southeast of Garia, Narendrapur, Sonarpur and so on. That's where the absorption is taking place. Those are the growth areas. That's where the new metro lines are going to be. That is where people are buying. So those areas are seeing a lot of traction, but it's the Rajarhat, the EM bypass is the others, the high ticket value premium apartments where transactions are not taking place.
So it's a very, very price sensitive market.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to come back and discuss in terms of where is the demand and supply, where can you actually make money if you're looking to invest in Kolkata market, because really that is the big question which weighs on everybody's mind. If I'm going to look at Kolkata as an investment, where should I be putting my money? We're looking at the Kolkata realty market and just delving deep into the subject to find out what's going to happen to the real estate in this capital city, especially with new government at the helm. So far, we've just gathered it's too soon to actually pass a judgment on the present government on whether they are proactively looking at developing real estate or not. But overall, it is a tepid market. Good end-use market, but a tepid market. I'm going to go across to our Kolkata studio where we have Mr. Mota there, head of Merlin Group. Mr. Mota, what's your own assessment? We've looked at some numbers which basically say that the absorption figures in a couple of emerging destinations of Kolkata have fallen to half over the last 2 years. Is that correct, or do you see a different picture, sir?
No, in this new areas like Rajarhat, the absorption has been low because the infrastructure has not been there, like electricity, the transport infrastructure, water supply. Some of the complex which were completed, but the infrastructure was not there, so people were not able to shift there. That was one of the reason. And of course the price rise, suddenly in last 2 years the prices have gone up abnormally in Calcutta. Sometime as a developer, even I was surprised that the land prices have gone up so high, and the constructed area also prices have gone up. So maybe that people are not able to buy those high at the increased value. And yes, 25 to 30 lakhs ticket value, the transactions are happening. Higher value, less transactions. And actually the end user market is more than 70%. I would rather say in apartment it is almost 90% it is end user market in Calcutta, because I see in my office it is 99% end user market.
No, that's very curious. If the end user market is about 80 to 90%, as you're saying, Mr. Mota, then I think my next question would be, then why are prices going up so fast? Balaji Rao, come in here. I'm sure you are constantly evaluating the Kolkata market. I mean, is there appetite only for 25 to 30 lakh apartments? What about commerce as well? I mean, how soon do you think that this would become probably one of the hot spots for commerce to flow in?
For commerce to flow in, it will be still very difficult to judge, because I think a lot more has to be done on the business sentiment side, and frankly, as I said, there's a stalemate on that end. But talking about prices, the prices of course have been predicated by the land values which have gone up substantially, because land suddenly has become very precious because the supply of land has got completely choked off. So with the land value shooting up, it's translating into a higher end use price, and only in the mid market do you find some sort of an absorption going on. But I don't think that makes the entire market, and you need to move across the broad spectrum of price ranges, and that's just not happening in Kolkata, which is very clear. And unless we see a real broad swell of investment coming into India and into Calcutta especially, I don't think private equity or foreign investors will rush in immediately into Calcutta.
Okay, so notwithstanding Hillary Clinton's visit, I think Kolkata will take a little bit of time before it becomes the top of the mind destinations. I'm going to just go back a little bit to residential and read out some of these prop equity data points in terms of what's really happened. Rajarhat now, if you look at this market which Mr. Mota just spoke about, why has it not done well, and the price trends show that 12% over 2 years, that's about 5% annualized returns. It's the worst performing property market of Kolkata. Lots of investor money stuck there, but a little while ago when we showed you the supply side situation, it has a maximum number of new projects and units unsold. EM Bypass Northeast saw a huge jump in 2009-10. Since then the appreciation is slow, but over 2 years has given a healthy 34% appreciation, round about 16% annualized, which is not bad compared to many other metros of India. EM Bypass SE, that's Southeast, price rise is more steady, appreciation and increase of 23% over 2 years, 12% annual returns. Narendrapura, reasonable 34% over 2 years, and Behala about 26% since 2009 to end of 2011. Garia is about 24% in the same period. Diamond Harbour Road about 26%. Jessore Road is the big winner. Same period, it's given much better returns, 48% over 2 years. So clearly it's Amit, if you look at the data, the price rise is linked very much to the projects which are launched and the supply of units. I mean, Jessore has just 2 or 3 projects, very little supply, and therefore prices have risen 48%. So what I'm understanding right now is that it's becoming unaffordable for people in Kolkata to actually drive a market which is above 40 lakh rupees.
It's a very price sensitive market, and it's a market where people don't like to show, it's very different from Delhi or a NCR market. You don't like to show that you've moved into a posh apartment. That's what the market is. There are places, having said that, there are places on the EM bypass where prices are about 7,000, 8,000. There's a project at even 14,500. There is a project.
And is there demand for it? Is there appetite for it or not yet? That's what I'm hearing from a Kolkata developer.
It's still too early to say anything about that.
Sabir, what do you do in a market like this, which is extremely price sensitive? You see absorption falling. I mean, do developers then need to completely shift focus to what price range project should be launched at?
Yeah, I think they need to do their research a lot more. I think what's happened actually in Calcutta is that most of the development has happened in Rajarhat, which has led to a huge oversupply.
And the mismatch is tremendous.
I have never seen that in any other state,
market,
or any other city. 70 projects out of 111 are happening in Rajarhat. So the whole supply and absorption has got tilted towards just one part of the city.
And where we hear a Calcutta developer saying infrastructure is not at all coming up.
Yeah. That's been the major problem.
So there's
the expectation with that area was very high. There was a lot of expectation the absorption with respect to commercial will pick up in Salt Lake, which is right next to Rajarhat, and that hasn't happened. From 3 million square feet average absorption levels have dropped to 1.1 million square feet in last year.
Mr. Mohta, what do you feel about that? I mean, is it a little bit of frustration to see that your city is not being able to attract commerce as much as one would have hoped, or businesses as much, MNCs as much as one would have hoped?
You see, the most of the demand here in terms of commercial space is either IT, ITES or retail. The general non-IT offices, there is hardly any newcomers, very few. And in terms of when you see IT, ITES, Calcutta rates are a little high. In Calcutta still the rentals are 45-50 rupees, whereas which is if you consider the cost of construction and land, it is reasonable. But in other cities like Chennai or Bangalore, Hyderabad, there has been very high oversupply. In Chennai I am told it is about 18 million square feet lying vacant, and out of desperation developers are offering 15 rupees or 20 rupees, that kind of rental, which does not justify the cost of construction or the value of the property. So maybe many of the players who are multi-city operator like IT, ITES particularly, they will prefer to go where the space is cheaper. So that way the Calcutta lose out.
Calcutta loses out. So overall, I think we can continue the debate, but we pretty much come to what's not working right now, and that's that the city is not being able to attract enough companies to come up and set up business, which ultimately fuels employment and fuels demand for residential real estate. Would you say that there are still good pockets for investments, or would you say, looking at the data that we have today, it is a market which may not give you extremely high returns, though we have some properties which have given fantastic returns?
Jaswal Road is great, Narendra Nagar is great. You have to be careful with Rajarhat, I would say, and EM bypass is also okay.
Vineet, Rajarhat, be careful, because I think that's an overall voice which has come up, but rest of couple of the areas, and we've shown the price chart, it's still an okay market, especially residential.
I think it was, Rajarhat was a very, very big project. Salt Lake Sector 5 was not fully occupied, absorption was going down, and then they envisaged this another Rajarhat, which is around 28 square kilometers. So at a much, much bigger scale than Salt Lake. And then the 2008 slowdown came, and the rest is history. So the infrastructure is not ready there. There is delayed construction. Even though houses may be ready, the houses do not have completion certificates, they do not have water, they do not have electricity. People can't live there because the connectivity routes are still not ready. They cannot live there and travel 1 hour to their offices. Offices are not moving there. So yes, Rajarhat, I think, is late by close to 3 to 5 years.
Right.
But there are extremely, as Samir said, good areas to invest in as well, where the absorption is high. There are issues in terms of land availability, and if you buy into that as an investor, you will get around 20-25% per annum.
That's the Kolkata market for you. It's going to be slow for commerce, but reasonably okay, minus Rajarhat for residential. Mr. Balaji Rao, Mr. Mohata, thank you very much for joining us today on the show. And of course, Amit, Vineet, Samir, pleasure. Thanks very much to all of you for joining us. If you're interested in investing in Kolkata and would like our research team to actually delve deeper into your particular question, you can always write into us at property@ndtv.com or call us at the numbers which are coming up on your screen. Also, your opinions are very valuable on what more would you like us to debate out or just speak about on this show. So do post them as well. Goodbye and thanks for joining me.